How many people in here can perform brain surgery? Nobody? No neurosurgeons? Okay. Let's go with the easier one. How many people in here can build a rocket and launch it into outer space? Rocket scientists? Okay. See, we don't know what we don't know. Unfortunately, the communities that I come from, there's a lot that I didn't know. See, growing up, I knew there were 3 options out of my circumstances. I could have been a rapper, could have been an athlete, could have been a drug dealer. I sucked at all 3, so my options were limited. I was born the son of a black pimp father. My father was a 1970s pimp and drug dealer. Now, when I say pimp, I want to be real specific here because somewhere along the line, our society lost its mind and started glamorizing the word pimp. Pimp my ride, pimp my apartment. No, my father put women on a street corner, they sold their bodies, and he took every dollar. Along the lines, he also managed to father 23 children. I'm one of 23. And the most he had by one woman was 3. So that lets you know how much he got around. I rarely saw my father. He was like a solar eclipse. You rarely see him, but when you do, it was magical, especially for a little boy. But when I did see my father, I knew there were a couple things that were guarantees. Number 1, I knew my father was always going to share with me that the only difference between him and the CEO of Budweiser was that our government chose to make the CEO of Budweiser legal. Our government chose to make his drug and service legal. He would constantly share this with me, my siblings, his friends. I always heard that story. The only difference between me and the CEO of Budweiser is government made him legal. So that was number 1. Number 2, I knew I would go around with my father and collect money from prostitutes. And number 3, I knew, left alone, that one of my fathers, at the age of 6, 7, and 8, one of my father's prostitutes was going to sexually molest me. I knew that she was going to force me to have oral sex on her, and if I didn't do it right, she was going to punch me in the head, smack me in the face, and tell me to do it right. Now, you're 6, 7, 8 years old. What does do it right mean? Now, I never shared that with my mother when I was a child because I knew if I did, she would not let me see my father anymore. So I kept it in because as a little boy, I barely saw him anyway. Now, my mother, she was an orphan. She was raised in a 1950s institutional orphanage where the kids were routinely beat, neglected, and abused. Call it child prison. When she turned 17 years old, they gave her $20, a small suitcase, and they said, "Good luck to you. There's the world. We know you've never seen the world, but there it is." Unfortunately for my mother, one of the first people she met was my well-dressed, fast-talking, quite a bit older father. Let me put quite a bit older in perspective. I have a half-sister that is 5 years younger than my mother. So he was quite a bit older. When I look at this photo, still to this day, I say to myself, what was that little girl scared of? Was she scared because she had no money? Was she scared because she had no family? Or was she scared because, my God, that's an ugly baby she was holding? So I found this a couple years ago in a stack of papers. This is the actual bill of my birth. Here's what we let you know back in the 70s. We weren't so politically correct as we are now. I was a welfare baby, and we told you right there on the bill, welfare. Here's the other thing I want you to notice. $422.90. Now, I knew I grew up pretty poor. I was pretty confident my mom never paid this bill. So I Googled Miami Valley Hospital. My God, it's still there. So I went and got a cashier's check for $422.90. I made a copy of this bill, and I mailed it in because I wanted to be able to say, hey, at least I paid my way into this world. Now, I got to imagine, whoever opened this bill said, Mother of God, 1971, you are a tad bit late. So when I say we don't know what we don't know, here's the piece that's very important about this. If you notice here, again, we weren't politically correct back in the 70s. We let you know, MISS, Miss, unwed, single mother on welfare. But what's important to note is the last name, McCormick. It's my mother's last name. It's my last name. When my mother went into labor, she had to walk to the hospital because my dad was nowhere to be found. When she gave birth to me, she realized I have nothing else in this world but this child, so she gave me her last name. Here's the problem. She was given that last name in the orphanage. We have no clue where or why she has this last name. So I walk around today with McCormick, and I'll have people joke with me, and they'll say, are you part of the McCormick family, the Spice family? Maybe. If I am, can you tell them? But I have no clue where my last name comes from. So, got a little better looking over time. But growing up mixed race in the 70s in Dayton, Ohio was a big no-no. Black people didn't like me because I was half white. White people didn't like me because I was half black. I was constantly called Oreo cookie, chocolate vanilla swirl, zebra, color confused, which is my favorite. But what hurt me the most is not only was I mixed race and had to go through the harshness of that, but we were also poor. When everyone else went to recess after lunch, I stood back and I pulled trash out of the trash cans because I knew there was nothing to eat when I got home. We wore bread bags on our feet during the winter because we had holes in our shoes. So I was a kid that was constantly teased that when I got to school, I had to take the bread bags off my feet and put my holy shoes back on. My mother and I, we joked because when you're poor, all you really have is laughter. So we would always joke that we are so poor, we can't afford the O and the R. We're just po. But that's all you had was laughter. Now, for me as a child, yes, it was rough and it was hard, but what hurt me the most is what my mother went through. See, raising a mixed-race child in Dayton, Ohio, in welfare was harsh. I'm going to share a story with you. On one occasion, my mother and I, these are food stamps. This isn't like today, where we've made it a little more convenient to be on welfare. You get like this debit card thing and you swipe it. No one knows if you have an Amex Black card, if you have a debit card, or a welfare card. No, you had food stamps. And you stood in line each month for 2, 3, 4 hours and waited for your allotment of food stamps. On one occasion, my mother and I were waiting in line, and a white lady in front of us, older white lady, she looked down at me, she looked up at my mother, she looked at me again, and she spit in my mother's face, and she called her a nigger lover. I am smiling. I still smile, because at 8 years old, I still remember thinking to myself, okay, let me get this straight. You are in the same free handout, broke-ass line as we are, but you're better than us because my mother has a mixed-race child. To this day, I can't figure that one out, and so I smile about it. But here's the part that wasn't funny to me. My mother had to stand there in that free line, humiliated, because we couldn't leave the line. She had to feed her mixed-race son. So she had to wipe the spit off of her face, tears coming down her eyes, and we had to stand there humiliated because we needed that free handout. My mother ended up facing prison time for welfare fraud because, my God, she went to work to try to feed her son and also collected welfare. So I got shipped to Texas, Houston, Texas. My father decided to take the pimp game to Houston, Texas. So my father, his prostitute, and my 6-month-old half-sister were all in Houston. I got shipped to my dad to live there. Here's what I showed up to. The hourly rate Surrey House Motel. not hotel, motel. There's no JWs here. 2 days after I arrived, my father and the prostitute said, "We'll be back." I was 9 years old. They left me with my 6-month-old half-sister. I had never been away from my mother for more than a weekend. 5 minutes after they leave, of course, my baby sister starts crying. I'm 9 years old. I pick her up. Shh, it's okay, it's okay. I'm 9, I don't know what to do. She's crying. Shh, it's okay. And I'm thinking to myself, 15 minutes into this, okay, I don't know how to make a bottle. I don't know how to change a diaper. And can babies eat regular food? I don't know. 20 minutes into this, she's crying, I'm crying. I threw my baby sister across the room. Fortunately, she landed on the couch. She was okay. But the moment she left my fingertips, I said to myself, my God, what type of person throws a baby? I ran over. I picked my baby sister up. She's screaming, I'm crying, and all of a sudden, guess who shows up? The prostitute. Oh, but she's got a man with her. It's time to do business. She tells me to get out and take my sister with me. My sister and I go and walk around that parking lot right there. Houston, Texas, July, sweltering heat, sweltering humidity. My baby sister has on nothing but a diaper. We're both sweating, and I just want to go home. I want my mom. I'm confused. I'm lost. I don't know why this is happening. Fortunately, my mother ended up not going to prison. And shortly thereafter, she moved to Texas as well. So at this time, my father and the prostitute now have 3 children. So my father, the prostitute, their 3 kids, and myself pack it up in a U-Haul, and we move back to Dayton, Ohio. Pause there. We leave. No one told my mother. So my mother has no clue if I'm in LA, Atlanta, Sun Valley. She has no clue where I am. We get back to Dayton, Ohio. How many of you have seen Forrest Gump? Come on, everybody. Okay. Do you remember the house where Jenny went back to the house and she was upset and she threw her shoe at it? This is my Jenny house. 3 weeks after we got back to Dayton, Ohio, my dad comes home and he says, "Hey, I'm going to England." Okay. He leaves. He leaves me there with the prostitute, my 3 half-brothers and sisters. That afternoon, after he left, the prostitute says, "I'm going to the store to get a pack of cigarettes." Oh, I forgot to mention, the prostitute is a horrific heroin addict. That afternoon turns into the evening, evening turns into the next day. She still hasn't come back. It's February. She's left me with my brothers and sisters. 1 day turns into 2, 2 turns into 3. I realize, oh my God, we are running out of food. What do? I tell my 4-year-old sister to babysit the 3-year-old and the 2-year-old so I can go down to the store and steal food. I go steal food. I come back. The minute I hit the door, I realize, oh, we don't have any more diapers. I can't steal diapers. So I take my 2-year-old brother. I sit him on the toilet. He's crying. I'm crying. And I say, "Hey, man, until something comes out, this is how it's going down." That's how I learned how to potty train. 3 days turns into 5, 5 turns into 7. Long story short, she was gone for 3 weeks. I never left my brothers and sisters. I was supposed to be in school. No one ever came looking for us. The prostitute shows back up. Of course, my brothers and sisters, they're excited to see her. Woo-hoo, their mom, whatever. After everything settles down, I go up to the prostitute, all skinny 12-year-old of me, and I say, "Where the F have you been?" She beat me so bad. I fell to the ground. She kicked me. She beat me. My ears are bleeding. I jump up. I run out of the house. I run away. I get brought back to the house, and the second beating is worse than the first. By the grace of God, one of my uncles, my dad's brothers, picks me up and says, hey, I'm going to take you to another one of your dad's girlfriends. I go over there. They drop me off. I've got my few things. She had 2 sons. First week I'm there, it's great. They buy me new clothes. I get a little love, some normalcy, some structure. It's beautiful. Friday night comes around. Her 2 boys go with her father. Oh, she's an alcoholic. And I'm looking a little too much like my dad right now. She starts to beat me. I'm tired of getting beat. I fight back. She calls the police. I go to juvenile. Pause. My mother's in Texas and does not know where I am. My father's in England, and truly only God knows where he is. But the problem is, no one knows that I'm in juvenile. I stayed there for 2.5 months. One of my aunts finally picked me up, went and stayed with her. That night, I hear my aunt and my uncle discussing that they can't afford to take care of me. So in the middle of the night, I pack my little suitcase. I go sleep on the bus stop. I'm homeless, 13 years old. But I know I can get a free meal at school. So I keep going to school. Middle school, kids, somebody showing up in the same clothes each day, suitcase, yeah, you're getting teased. You're getting harassed. One little boy was just brutal. I got mad and I snapped. Got in a fight with that kid. That kid went into a coma. I go back to juvenile. I was in juvenile 3 different times as a kid. The last time I was there, God knows I would just love to meet this gentleman. The corrections officer comes up to me and he says, come here, son. You come in here again, you're going to man prison. Now, I'm 47 years old, but there's just something that doesn't sound right about man prison. Needless to say, I never went to man prison. Never going to man prison. But that corrections officer kept me out of man prison because I didn't go back. At the age of 15, I was fortunate. I got reunited with my mother in Texas, and my mother took me to enroll in school. And when we enrolled, the counselor said a word that I had not heard before, because you don't know what you don't know. She said that she was putting me in a class called geometry. I had never heard that word before. But then again, at 15 years old, I didn't know that they would deliver pizza to your house. At 15 years old, I had never had a chicken breast. So I go sit in this class, 6 weeks rolls around, I get D's and F's in every class. Everyone figures out real fast, okay, this kid's not too bright. My mother has me tested, and I'm testing on the 5th and 6th grade level. Needless to say, graduation rolls around. I don't graduate high school. I had to go to summer school to take remedial courses to get my high school diploma. Now, many of you in here would call that a GED. Damn it, it says high school diploma. I got a high school diploma. What I don't have is a college degree. See, when I got my diploma, I got home, and my mother said, great, you've got 2 weeks to get a job. I could have gone to Burger King. I could have gone to McDonald's. I could have gone to Walmart or Target to get a job. No. Where's the first place I went to get a job? Po folks. We had joked our whole life that we are so poor that we can't afford the O and the R. Can't make this up. My job was to clean the toilets. One day I went in and I'm standing in front of the toilets and I see them and I say to myself, okay, I'm going to dig back to something my dad told me when I was a kid. He said, whatever you do in life, be the best at it. If you're going to sweep the streets, be the best street sweeper. So I made a conscious decision that no matter what I did in life, I was going to be the best at it. So I wanted to make sure I had the cleanest toilets in Texas. Now, fast forward there. I never got a college degree, but I have managed to self-teach balance sheets, income statements, EBITDA, CapEx, OpEx. Along the way, I even managed to teach myself how to take $100 and turn it into 8 figures. And I even taught myself how to turn a family office to where I could take advantage of carried interest. Because I'll be honest, I hate paying taxes. I've also been the president of a software company that we scaled from 13 people in a storage closet to over 100 people with offices in Houston, Dallas, Austin, and Monterrey, Mexico. But I don't write code. I'm now the co-owner and CEO of a publishing company, and God knows I can't tell you an adverb from an adjective. Thank God I'm not writing the books. We've also managed, as CEO of the publishing company, last year we were named the #1 culture in America by Entrepreneur Magazine. This year we finished #2 for best places to work in the state of Texas, and last Friday we got #1 best place to work in Austin. 2 years ago my father died, and he never got to hear any of that, see any of that, or know any of that. I made the conscious decision to go to his funeral. Hadn't been back to Dayton, Ohio in 30 years, hadn't talked to my father in 30 years. But I'm happy I went back for 2 reasons. First one, because I got this picture. Those are real pimps that knew me when I was a kid and my dad was a pimp. My only regret is there were like 25 different pimps there with lime green, sunshine yellow, sherbet orange. I would have liked to have a picture of all of them, but I got this one. You gotta love my man with the pink shoes and the pink shirt. You gotta love it. Of all the money my father made as a pimp and drug dealer, he died flat broke. I paid for his funeral. I've often been asked, JT, is there anything you would have liked your dad to have seen, to see your accomplishments? And for years, no. Then last October came around. This magazine came out. And I'm going to point something out here to you. That's 4-star General Petraeus, who was head of the CIA. That's Heisman Trophy winner Bo Jackson. That's the hedge fund billionaire Leon Cooperman. That's some guy named JT McCormick over there in the corner. But what I want you to pay attention to, the person above me is the CEO of Budweiser. I said to myself, and I'm man enough to admit it, I cried when I saw it, and I said to myself, well played, Dad, well played. Of all the things that I've accomplished in life, of all the things that I'll go off to accomplish in life, my greatest accomplishment is and always will be my family. I did not repeat the cycle of my father. All 4 of those kids are mine by the same woman, and I take care of all of them. I'm going to close out with this. Outside of my family, my greatest accomplishment in life is mentoring high-risk youth. Because we don't know what we don't know. And when you go into a group of kids and you say to them, shake my hand, and 60% of them do this, they don't even know how to shake hands. They don't know how to go in and fill out an application. They don't know to say, yes, sir, thank you, please, hold the door, pick up the paper towel. And God knows no one's teaching them attention to detail. But it's a damn travesty that in our country, we're still celebrating Columbus Day when we know damn well he didn't discover America. But we don't teach kids to shake hands. How am I supposed to go in and say, excuse me, sir, excuse me, ma'am, can I have an employment opportunity with you? Who's teaching those lessons? Somewhere along the way, our society started demonizing capitalism. Capitalism is why I'm standing in front of you today. God bless America and capitalism. And there's not a day that goes by, there's damn near not an hour that goes by that I don't realize there is someone who will trade places with me in a heartbeat. So all the things that I went through, they're in the past. I chose not to be a victim. I chose to focus on the things that I can change. Because I realize right now, regardless of what political side you fall on, there's a single mom with two kids coming up 1,100 miles from Honduras looking to get into this country for an opportunity. Damn it, I was born here. I've already got a head start. I have a responsibility to be successful. I have a responsibility to give back to those communities that don't know the things that I know. No one told us about the fourth option, business, entrepreneurship. So now I go back and I teach those kids, here's what's possible in life. I appreciate you all listening to me.